Greetings everybody, Nick DiVirgilio here, and today we're going to take a quick tour through the API 2500 bus compressor from UA. This plugin will work in any major DAW, and you can also use any audio interface. Today I'm using the SSL 2 Plus audio interface. It's also worth mentioning that plugins like the API 2500 can be purchased individually if you like. There's a whole collection of amazing UA plugins to check out, so make sure you click on the link in the description below. The API 2500 is one of the most popular bus compressors. You could put that wonderful API analog sound on your master bus, your whole mix, on subgroups, and even individual channels. This plugin shines in many different areas. This plugin has the typical compressor functions like threshold, attack, release, and ratio. But the tone and link functions are what give the 2500 its ability to shape the sounds. It's the special sauce, so to speak. In the tone area, you can adjust the knee. That determines how sharp the compressor hits the threshold. Hard is an aggressive sound, medium is a bit softer, and the soft setting is a nice, gentle sound. Thrust is a signature feature of the 2500, and it lets more low energy pass through the compressor. Loud is great for a nice, punchy tone, but make sure to check out the medium setting as well as the normal settings. The last part in the tone section is the type. This lets you choose from an older or a more modern compressor sound. The old setting is smoother and gentler, while the new setting is harder and more aggressive. The link section is unique to the 2500. It lets you set the amount of interaction between the two channels, and depending on how you have instruments panned in your mix, this function can do some amazing things. If you turn the knob all the way to the left, that is independent, which allows the two compressors to work separately. This is cool for enhancing the stereo width of your track. All the way to the right at 100, sums the two together, and the left and right side compress evenly, like most stereo compressors do. The other settings in the middle allow you to tailor the side-to-side interaction to taste. There's also a high pass and a low pass filter. Now it's time for less talking and more listening. Let me take you through a few examples on what this great plugin can do. Let's start with some mixed bus compression. I put the 2500 on my master fader here, so the whole mix is going through that master fader. A good starting point for some light and transparent compression is to set all the compression controls to 12 o'clock like I did here. In the tone section, select a soft knee with a loud tone and the old style compression. I'll start with the compressor off, then I'll engage it a few bars into the tune. It's not going to make a huge difference, but you'll definitely hear a little bit more punch and clarity overall. Check it out.
Reach down, hold the sound, feel light, super tight, small ones, and then again. Sweeter things are in the air, happiness is everywhere.
It's just a nice, clean setting to smooth out the song in general. We can definitely push the compressor harder by adjusting the threshold and the mix. Check it out, here we go.
Reach down, hold the sound, feel light, super tight, small ones, and then again.
Could you hear the song pumping a little bit more? Let's check it out one more time with the compressor off, and then I'll turn it on in a couple of bars. Here we go.
Reach down, hold the sound, feel light.
Adjust the gain a little bit.
Small ones, and then again. Sweeter.
You can really hear this compressor attacking the song now in a cool way, and all I did was turn up the threshold a bit and give it a little bit more in the mix. So depending on your source material, you can really push this compressor in a bunch of very cool ways. Since this is a nice sort of electronic mellow pop track, I don't need to attack the compressor that hard. Just a nice clean compression to smooth out those peaks and valleys and give it a nice clean punchy tone. I'm going to push the compressor a little bit harder, and I'm going to use this link function. I want you to check it out where I made the two compressors working independently here. You're going to hear a boom sound in the track. It goes boom. Check out what happens when that sound kind of pushes through when the compressor's getting hit pretty hard as well. I've pulled back the threshold just a little bit. The attack is a little bit slower. The ratio is at 6:1, and the release is a little bit slower. And I have the link knob all the way to the left, so both compressors are working independently. Check out this sound. First with it off, and then I'll turn it on.
Reach down, hold is everywhere.
So it's really engaging the song quite a bit. It's probably too much pumping for this kind of track in the end, in the grand scheme of it all, when you want to have a finished mix. But to show you and to give you these examples on how powerful this compressor is, it's just so easy to do. That link knob is really making both sides kind of pump in a cool way, and I do have it slammed pretty hard. And when you get this plugin into your system, especially if you're new to this plugin, definitely turn those knobs and hear and learn what they do by using. Now let's check out this plugin on some individual tracks inside the song. Now let's check out the sound of this compressor on a drum loop. Here's the sound of the drum loop without any compression on it. Lots of cool tones in there and lots of low end. For this example, I picked a preset called Drum Bus Little Smack. And then I made some of my own adjustments. The mix is set to about 70. The threshold is at 8. The attack here is at 0.3, so it's a little bit fast. Setting the ratio to 6. And the release I'm putting on its variable setting all the way at 50 milliseconds, so as fast as it can get. The release knob here has incremental settings here, but if you go all the way to the right, you can fine-tune the release time from 50 mil all the way to 3 seconds, which is really slow, but I want it to be really fast. Knee set to medium, thrust to loud, and I want the new type of compression. The link is right in the middle, so they are going to work independently, but not totally. It's like right in the middle of that whole feature. And the high-pass filter is on. So here we go. Compressor off to start with, and after a couple of bars, I'll turn it on and check it out. Now, I think that needs a little more gain, so I'm going to turn the gain up just a tiny bit. Compressor off. It's definitely taming that low end just a little bit and making that kick drum sound, that electronic kick drum sound, more punchy and stick out. Now, let me take this out of solo mode and let's listen to the drum loop inside the song. First with the compressor off and then back on. Here we go.
Music maker, rhythm taker, Sweetwater flowing through the notes.
It's subtle, but you can definitely hear the kick drum stick out a little bit more, and in the grand scheme of the overall mix, it's sitting in there nicely. Now let's check out the sound of this compressor on the bass guitar. I'm going to pick this preset called Bass Leveler, and since I practiced with this compressor before making this video, I made some adjustments to this preset. I'm going to put the mix at 15, the threshold at about 5, which is right about there, attack right in the middle at 1, my ratio is going to be 3:1, which it's already set there, and my release at 5, so I don't have to touch that at all. The knee we're switching up to hard, the thrust on loud, going to keep with the old style compressor, and the link all the way to 100. So this means both compressors are working at the same time. And I'm going to give it a little bit more gain. All right, check out the sound of this synth bass, first with no compression, and then I'll turn it on. Here we go. Back off. It's doing a really cool thing. This synth bass sound has a lot of peaks and valleys in the volume, so it's helping out with that, bringing up the low bits a little bit more, but it's also giving a little more attack, and which is really great because that's going to meld with the kick drum in the loops in a great way. Now let's check out the sound of this bass inside the track. Again, first with the compressor off and then back on. Here we go.
Music maker, rhythm taker, Sweetwater flowing through the notes.
The compressor is doing a really great thing to this synth bass. It's not too loud in the mix, it's sitting right in there nicely, but giving that just that little bit of extra attack to the sound is really making it rhythmically do some really cool things with the other instruments in the track. And finally, let's check out this compressor on the lead vocal. Again, this compressor works great on the submix, on subgroups. You can put this on a whole drum track. You could put this on a whole bank of guitars, but it works great on individual sounds like a lead vocal. So I picked another great preset called Vocal Leveler. And I also made a few adjustments to the preset. Again, these presets are great starting points. You may find that a preset works perfectly for what you need, but you can easily make these adjustments if need be. Turn the threshold to 8. The attack is going to go to 3. Ratio 3:1. The release I have set on variable to 0.15. The knee is medium for the vocal here. A loud thrust on the new compression. One thing to mention here, since this is a solo track, it's not a stereo track, it's just an individual vocal, the link section is not going to work. See, I can't turn the knob because it's not a stereo track. So you'll see both meters working exactly the same way. And I'm going to turn the gain up a little bit to 6. There is automatic makeup gain that this compressor has by just pressing this button. But if you want to do it manually, just hit the button and then you can turn the gain up to as loud or as soft as you need to. I'm going to put it at 6 for the vocal here. Okay, the vocal is solo. Let's check out the sound of the vocal first without the compression. And then, of course, I'll turn it on in just a second. Here we go.
Reach down, hold the sound, feel light, super tight. Smile once, and then again. Sweeter things are in the air. Happiness is everywhere.
It's bringing up the volume a little bit because I have the gain up a tiny bit. And it's really just sort of smoothing out the vocal. It's still very transparent. You can't hear the compression doing too much, which is great. I don't want it to be pumping too much. If I turn the mix up a little bit more, you'd probably hear more compression. Let's check it out. Let's listen to it one more time. Just by turning the mix, so this is more compression on the sound as compared to the dry sound. Here we go. Compression off and then back on.
Reach down, hold the sound, feel light.
You can definitely hear more happening.
Tight. Smile once, and then again.
Back on.
Sweeter things are in the air. Happiness is everywhere.
With just slight tweaks of the knobs, in this instance just the mix knob, really added some nice flavor to this particular sound. Now let's unsolo the vocal and hear it in the mix with the compressor on. Here we go.
Reach down, hold the sound, feel light, super tight. Smile once, and then again. Sweeter things are in the air. Happiness is everywhere.
So the compression is adding a nice transparent sound to the overall vocal, and it's letting it sit in the mix just perfectly. With that fast release, the compression is going away, so you're not hearing any pumping, but when it needs to attack the louder bits, it's doing it in a great transparent way. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, everybody, and checking out the amazing API 2500 bus compressor plugin from UA. And remember, you can buy this plugin individually here at Sweetwater, so reach out to your Sweetwater sales engineer. Now, get out there and keep on making music. Cheers.